would lie down and start laughing with his legs in the air. The odd time that I got him in that position, luckily we were in hotel rooms, because sometimes you'd get hysterical laughter and he'd let it all out in one big go. And God knows what the joke was. As usual with that sort of laugh, whatever kicked it off was not really that funny. He was a very private man. I always had the feeling that I wouldn't necessarily step over or inquire about something unless he wanted to talk about it. There was no side on him. There was no act to follow. Charlie was just what you got, which was Charlie. He was the realest guy I ever met. Keith Richards, June 2022. Prelude by Andrew Loog Oldham. The first time I met Charlie Watts was on Eel Pie Island. It was a Wednesday, first day of May. I'd seen the Stones live for the first time the previous Sunday at the Station Hotel in Richmond. I hadn't spoken to him. I may have nodded at Mick and Keith, but I only spoke with Brian Jones, at the time the group's designated spokesman. I'd been overwhelmed by the band at the Station Hotel. I had no idea what it really was, except that it had changed my mind about so much, and I wanted in. By the following Wednesday, I was hustling on behalf of myself and my landlord, the agent Eric Easton, who rented me a room and phone on Regent Street. The gig had ended, and I was nervously hanging around wanting to pass the audition and get on with it. I was standing next to Charlie in his kit. I had no idea what to talk about, so I offered to help him schlep his kit. He smiled and declined my offer. He already knew better and that my skills lay elsewhere. He had mesmerised me at the Station Hotel, as had they all. In my first autobiography, Stoned, I wrote, "The drummer appeared to have been beamed in, and it seemed you didn't so much hear him as feel him. I enjoyed the presence he brought to the group as well as his playing. Unlike the jacketless other five, he had the two top buttons of his jacket done up meticulously over a just as neat button-down shirt and tie, unaffected by the weather in the room. Body behind kit, head turned right and a distant, mannered disdain for the showing of hands waving at 78 RPM in front of him. He was with the Stones, but not of them. Kind of blue, like he'd been transported for the evening from Ronnie Scott's or Birdland, where he'd been driving in another Julian Cannonball Adderley time and space. He was the one and only, all-time man of his world, gentleman of time, space, and the heart. His rare musical talent is an expression of his bigger talent for life. I'd just met Charlie Watts. Our last sessions together were We Love You and Dandelion. As happened on many a Stones tune going in, there was no pre-arranged ending. Better to see if the meat and potatoes were in place before applying the veg. The ending was a melange of Nicky Hopkins and Brian Jones on keyboards and woodwind, Keith and Mick on hallowed vocals, and Charlie leading the fray with improvised fills. At the time, I thought the fills were just for me. They were not. They were just Charlie appropriate. In the 80s, Charlie dropped by for something in New York during one of his solo jazz jaunts. I made the mistake of playing him something I'd been working on. He was just not interested. "Andrew," he said, perhaps by way of an explanation, "I just don't care about what the Stones are about. I'm only interested in what I play." Fortunately, the rough patch faded, the get over it, get on with it yell prevailed, and the band played on. I saw him last in Seattle in 2005, exactly the same fellow I said hello to on Eel Pie Island. In the movie world, they talk about the golden era. Ours was Charlie Watts. All the great bands have one thing in common: a different drummer. Andrew Loog Oldham, June 2022. Introduction. A man out of time, always in time. Madison Square Garden, New York, November 1969. As the greatest rock and roll band in the world, newly anointed thus by tour MC Sam Cutler, ease out of Chuck Berry's Little Queenie and into their most recent #1 Honky Tonk Women, Mick Jagger offers a conversational observation. "Charlie's good tonight, isn't he?" Of course he was, and he always would be. The very mention of Charlie Watts' name in the context of this biography, or however it may arrive in the conversation, is enough to have fellow musicians and fans alike practically standing to attention. Which is exactly the sort of eulogy he would have run a mile from, as he did throughout a truly singular and unlikely life. Charlie was the proof that not all rock stars are created equal, and that clichés are there to be avoided. Such as the one that, in his mind, he was a rock star at all. He was the global celebrity who hated attention and once said that he preferred the company of dogs to humans. The car enthusiast who didn't drive.